What's up, guys? Matt Modi here with GoldBoys, here to give you 5 bets in 5 minutes NFL Christmas edition. NBA will come over in a separate video, but that does mean in the next 5 minutes, I'm going to give you my 5 favorite NFL bets for the NFL Christmas specific betting slate. Let's get right into it. So we got 2 games. I'm going to have 5 bets to lock in, 2 in the first game, which is Chiefs-Steelers, starting with Xavier Worthy over 4.5 receptions. Normally, I come on here and talk about how I like to fade recent results, bet on positive regression type of plays. That's not what we're doing here. We are backing an increased workload for Xavier Worthy, and we're backing that is going to continue. He's hit this number, 5 receptions, in 4 straight games. Those are the only 4 times on the entire year that he has hit 5 or more receptions, and he's done it in 4 straight. He's got 11 targets in each of the last 2 weeks. And they're starting to use him not in the deep game, but in the shorter passing game, which is why he's getting a lot more receptions. And I think this is something that's going to continue. The Steelers are a team that will invite you to pass on them. Last week, we just saw Zay Flowers go off for 100 yards on 5 receptions. The week before that, both A.J. Smith and A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, that's what I'm looking for, both hit their reception prop and had 100 yards. The Chiefs are going to use Xavier Worthy in the short passing game. I think that he's going to have a good game. That's play number 1. Next up, we're going with Pat Freiermuth, 40-plus receiving yards. As good as the Chiefs' defense is, you can target them with tight end receiving props. On the entire year, the Chiefs have allowed the most receiving yards per game to tight ends. Even though that's normalized a little bit as the season has gone on, since week 8, they've allowed 65.4 receiving yards per game to tight ends specifically. That would be the equivalent of the 4th most on the entire season. Pat Freiermuth hasn't had an amazing season or anything like that, but he has hit 40 receiving yards in 4 of 9 games with Russell Wilson as a starting quarterback, and that includes going under in 2 straight games as well. So it was 4 of 7. Now, hopefully they get George Pickens back, which is going to take away coverage from Pat Freiermuth. We just targeted Dalton Schultz against the Chiefs last week. That came through for us. Let's hope the same thing happens for Pat Freiermuth. Next up, we're heading to the Ravens versus Texans game, and I'm taking Joe Mixon under his rushing prop. I was able to get it at 70.5 rushing yards. It might have moved by the time you're watching this. Just take it at the highest number you can get because I think he's going under. Mixon has now missed this number in 4 of his last 6 games after cashing even over 100 in the first 5 games he played on the entire year. So he's cooled down a lot recently. And this is a tough matchup against a good Ravens defense. 5th best run defense according to DVOA. They've allowed the 2nd fewest rushing yards per game on the lowest yards per carry on the entire season. Since week 6, 6th fewest rushing yards per game on the 2nd lowest yards per carry. Advanced metrics show the Ravens as a very good run defense as well. They allow the 6th lowest adjusted yards before contact per attempt, and literally the lowest yards after contact. So whether it's before or after contact, they show a very, very good run defense, which is, I love looking at both of those numbers because it really shows you just how good of a run defense they are. So this is going to be a passing game for the Texans, not a running game. So I like backing, technically fading Joe Mixon, taking him to go under his rushing prop. Plays 4 and 5 is actually a ladder play. We're going Nico Collins 100-plus receiving yards and Nico Collins 110-plus receiving yards. Of course, we had to end the video with a ladder play. I just talked about how good the Ravens are as a run defense. You can pass on them. They allow the 2nd most passing yards per game on the entire season and the 8th most since week 6. And even though the numbers show they've gotten slightly better recently, you have to look at their matchups, which can tell you the story. They played the Steelers twice, once without George Pickens, the Eagles once, who never passed the ball, and the Giants once. So teams that need to pass on them can have success doing so. And the Ravens allow literally number 1, the most receiving yards per game, specifically to number 1 wide receivers, which is obviously going to be Nico Collins. According to DVOA, they're also the worst defense in the NFL guarding number 1 wide receivers. You know, the Nico to CJ, or the CJ Stroud to Nico connection isn't quite as lethal as it was last year. But in 10 games this year, Nico has hit 110-plus receiving yards in 4 of those 10 games. And he missed it in the last 2. So this is another good fade of recent results, positive regression type of play. And Nico still has elite numbers across the board. If you look at it, 3rd in the NFL in receiving yards per game, 3rd best yards per route run in the entire NFL as well. Just elite numbers across the board. No Tank Dell. Nico's going to get a zillion targets in this one. I think he's going to have a lot of success with those targets. Rounding out our 4th and 5th final pick of the video. And that's all we got. 5 bets in 5 minutes for you guys to lock in. Remember to like the video, comment, subscribe. Check out goldboys.com. Check me out on Twitter at JediModi. I appreciate everybody for watching, and have a good one.